So good night, everyone. Very, very, very excited to see everyone tonight. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. This is just an exceptional night for me, but I'm glad to really share it with all of you. This is our chat series, Confidence in Color, and it's a series that really allows us to touch on some very special people in our community, right? Women of color, right? It's a chance for us to celebrate them, uplift them, empower them. And this is our space to gather. I think about it like, we used to gather by the river, or we gathered at church, or we gathered just in special places just for us. And I hope that this is a special place that we can all just be poured into until we're filled, right? So my name is Amanda Flood, and I'm a psychotherapist and mindset coach, and I help leaders navigate stress, burnout, and overwhelm so they can achieve their goals and thrive. And this Confidence in Color series is important to me because I know just growing up here in Americas, how difficult it can be to belong. And whether that is because of the color of your skin, your family dynamics, professionally, economically, it can really be disempowering sometimes when you don't see yourself in the canvas of the life that you want. And something that I've always found important is having other people pour in their wisdom and experience into your life, right? Having people speak over you. And sometimes we're just so busy trying to make it that we don't have the opportunity to realize that we need to gather and we need to pour in and we need to help each other out. And that's what this series really is. It's a conversation that allows us to connect with thought leaders and motivational speakers and everyday women who will really share their insights and their wisdom and their strategies to help us all feel seen again and heard, and to be a part of something, right? And I think all those pieces are really necessary when it comes to confidence, which is what we're going to be getting into. So welcome, everyone. Good to see you. And kicking us off is Emem Washington, who's a TEDx coach, leadership consultant. She's actually a two-time TEDx speaker, which is really cool. And I'm going to have her introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about her. So hello, Ms. Washington.
Hello, thank you for having me. Good to be here. Hello, everyone. As Amanda said, my name is Emem Washington, and I reside in the great state of Texas. But I'm happy to be here virtually with you wherever you are. I am a leadership consultant and a TEDx coach. And I like to say that I use my voice to help others find, own, and use their own voices as well. Thanks for having me.
Beautiful. Oh, I can't wait because I think that our voice gets lost sometimes, and it's great to be in this space where we can help each other find it again, right? So we're going to just like dive right in. And if you guys have questions as we go along, please feel free to jump in. So I'm going to ask you first, can you tell us about where your journey with confidence began?
Yeah, if I could go all the way back to like the eighth grade. So my heritage, I'm of Nigerian descent, born in the US, moved around the world for a couple of countries, and then we lived in Nigeria for 5 years. Moved back to the States and was made fun of from for being foreign, for having an accent, for being too dark, to, just all the things in eighth grade. And so I found myself, I realized years later that I went into hiding. And what I mean by that is who I was, the true person, who I am as a person. I hid that. And I tried to conform, I tried to fit in. I did all the things, changed my accent. I couldn't do plastic surgery, and I'm glad I didn't. But I mean, I changed so many things about myself, even my name, which, as you said, it's MM, two letters in it. In middle school, the teacher was like, do you have a nickname? Because this is hard to say. And so I said, Emmy, and she said, Amy. And I said, okay. And I became Amy for years until I decided, listen, I want people to know my name, my heritage is enough. So that journey, it was several years journey to, first of all, discovering that I had been in hiding. Secondly, doing the deep dive, the search to uncover, discover, unpack, who am I? What is my identity? And truly own that. So that's been my journey. It wasn't something that happened overnight. And I still think I'm on that journey, but at least I'm intentional, and I know, and I constantly have to remind myself of who I am. Yeah. So that's been my journey in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I can see that journey being constant, right? Of who I am. And, as you're talking, I was wondering, and you guys can let me know if you're listening, whether you just want to put that in the chat. How many of you have really lost part of yourself to fit into something, right? Like you had to lose part of your name to make it easier for somebody else, right? I totally relate as a immigrant child coming to this country. It just made so much sense not to keep my accent, right? And I wasn't around a lot of people at the time. I'm Trinidadian, I had an accent, like nobody except my family, right? And I didn't know it really. It wasn't even conscious, really, but I knew I just wanted to just be there. And sometimes that's even how we begin to lose ourselves, right? It's just knowing that we want to be somewhere, and it comes at a cost to us, right? So, if any of you guys relate to that, please feel free to share in the comments as we go along too. And if you have questions, please drop it there too. So, if we are in that space, right, or we are trying to develop confidence again, how do we do that, right? How can women of color in particular develop confidence in their own abilities, right? And maybe in those pieces that they've lost, how do we do that?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is doing the work to discover who you are. I like to say that we spend so much time getting to know other people that we want to know, but not as much time really getting to know who we are. I mean, if I were to, there's times I ask people, what are your core values? And not everyone has thought about that. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, it's something that we all can do. What are your core values? Who are you when the chips are down, when things are up against you? Who are you in a crowd of people where everyone is making fun of, somebody else? How do you stand out in that scenario? And then just the whole, everything about yourself. Who are you? What are your gifts, your talents? And these are things sometimes if you ask somebody to tell me a little bit about your gifts, your talents. Sometimes it's hard. I know it was hard for me. Sometimes it's hard to say what that is, what those things are. And so maybe asking other people, what is it about me that you see? What are my strengths? What are the things that stand out to you about me? So first of all, to answer that question, the first thing I'd say is get to know yourself. The second thing I'd say is, and this is for many people, not everyone, but many people, many women that I work with or I've come across, and including myself, celebrate your successes, celebrate the things that, speak up about the things that you've done. Imposter syndrome reigns in many, many hearts and minds. However, there's something great about each of us. There are good things, great things, gifts and talents and skills and strengths that we each have, and we take for granted, and maybe we think that other people have those strengths. That's just normal, not realizing that those are things that stand out in us. And when you do have a success, celebrate it. Don't be afraid to acknowledge the things that you've accomplished and share them with others. This not only boosts your confidence, but it also boosts your resilience and helps and inspires other people too. So I'll pause on those two in case, I could go on, but I'll pause on those two in case because I could talk on it.
But I love them so far, right? So we are asking ourselves really, who are we, and what are the things that kind of make us like special and unique, right? And I think sometimes we forget it. And I think that's why it is so crucial that we look at what those things are and to celebrate the little things, because we like to like minimize the little things.
We do. Right? We do.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Why do you think that is? And is that problematic for us?
Yeah, I think sometimes it could be something, many times, it's something that was said or done in our past. Something to the effect of who do you think you are, or you're never gonna be, you ain't blank. You're never gonna be blank, I've
Right.
I've got several clients who are trying to overcome the things that were said to them 50, 60 years ago by somebody that they respected, looked up to, loved,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still trying to overcome that. So a lot of times it's the things that have been said to us or the
Mm-hmm.
things that we've experienced that cause us to, shrink back or hide our talent, or minimize, to use the word that you use,
Mm-hmm.
minimize and shrink. I think a lot of times that's what it is. And then other times it could be fear of what's possible, fear of success, fear of
Yeah.
failure,
Yeah. I
of
believe
what.
that too. It just
Yeah,
seems so much bigger than us. Or can we really handle it? Right. So then
absolutely.
we hold back there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. I love it. Right. So this is resonating with you guys. This is like a quick power conversation
Mhm.
to keep you, going and to get us thinking about, well, what's happening with me? Where am I playing small? Where is my confidence maybe shrinking a little bit, or where have I diminished it to sort of like fit in
Yeah,
somewhere?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And along those lines, can you give us two more practical strategies, right? So we can maybe
absolutely.
stop fitting in and create our own space and step into things that maybe we really belong in, or that really belong to us.
Yeah, absolutely. A third one would be sharing your story. So I'm a speaker coach, so I believe in telling stories.
Our story,
And
yeah.
sometimes when we say share your story, people get scared thinking that means speaking to a large audience. And really, it could just be one on one. It could be to a small group. It could be, at the beauty shop. It could be anywhere, but sharing your story of overcoming, because you never know who that can help. And the more we share our stories, the more we're able to look at the things that how far we've come. There's a story that I share all the time about my journey to motherhood. And I'll just share the nutshell version of that. Basically, I had two stillbirths, I had two miscarriages. I was told that I had fibroids, and if I didn't have those removed, this would continue happening. I had the fibroids removed. Then I was told, well, we lost part of your tube, and so you're not going to be able to have children again unless maybe through IVF. And all of that went with it. Again, this is the nutshell version. Long story short, somebody shared a book with me, a book called Supernatural Childbirth. And in that book, I read stories. So I'm saying share your story. I read stories of women in the Bible. I also read stories of modern day, present day women who had overcome different things on their own journeys to motherhood. And the thing that gave me was hope. And so, with that hope, I'm now a mother of two teenage boys because somebody shared their story. And I shared my story. As a result of that, other people started saying, hey, I've been through this too. Thank you for sharing your story. And it's just a ripple effect. So, building confidence and resilience can come from sharing your story. Absolutely. Our stories are
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, it's like healing for us, and we don't know what it's going to do for somebody else, right? And totally relate there as well, because I had a whole bunch of miscarriages before I was able to have my kids too. And it's one of those things that because we don't talk about it, we don't even realize it's happening, right?
That's right.
And I could still feel the emotion within me, right? Where you
Oof.
end up in a situation where you are hurting so much
Yeah,
because somebody just didn't say like, oh no, like this happens, right? It's actually more common than you realize, or
that's right.
let me hold your hand, or let me help you, or this is what it could be, right? Or how encouraging it can be, right? So I
Right.
love that you're saying that. It's like we have to take ownership of those stories as well, and that's a good way for us to step into this place of confidence, right?
Yeah.
So as we kind of wind down, because this is, again, y'all, this is a little quick power session, right? So I'm glad that you're jumping in the comments. I'm glad that you're feeling it and it's resonating, because we just want to drop enough for you that you can keep doing what you need to do. So if you had to leave maybe one more piece of advice for the woman listening, what would that be?
I would also say, we've talked about speaking, celebrating your wins. That also, what also comes with that is speaking up for yourself and speaking up for others, right? Speaking up for yourself. Don't be afraid to express your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas, the things that you need, your wants. When you're able to assert yourself, and many times we're able to do that in some situations, but in other situations, maybe we're able to speak up for ourselves at work, but at home we cower down, or maybe vice versa. I with wisdom, of course, don't put yourself in a dangerous position, but speak up for yourself. And then that's also tied with speaking up for others, right? Advocate for others. Use your voice to raise awareness and to advocate for others who may be experiencing something similar to you, or something that's not similar, challenge-wise to you. This can also help build resilience in you, confidence in you, because once you're able to see that your voice, there's something about using your voice even before the results come. Just the fact that you opened your mouth and you spoke, there's a certain momentum that comes from that. And so I would say, the last thing I would end with is to use your voice to speak up for yourself and to speak up for others.
I'm going to pause for just like 10 seconds and just let that sit in the atmosphere. Right. So whatever that means for someone, right? I hope it starts to resonate, change, right? There's just vibration again in us gathering and being in these spaces. And you ended on this word speaking up, which I think is a great segue to just what you do and what you have going on. And if you could just leave that with us as you head on out of here, right? What is on the table next for you, or even just how can folks find you and continue this conversation with you, or just be connected with you? I love the energy already. Right?
Oh, well, thank you again for having me. And thank you for doing this series. I look forward to catching the rest during this week. For anyone who is interested in becoming a TEDx speaker, I'm running a 5-day training in a challenge form next week, Monday through Friday. And it's to help you get that jump started, get your idea ready for the pitch. And so if you would like that, I'll be happy to share in the comments the link for that. And you can find me on social media, all platforms, as Emem Washington. And let me know that we met here. So I'd love to know that, so we can connect that way.
Beautiful. So as we wind down, if you guys can also drop in the chat for me something that either you'll take away from today, or that's just standing out from just being in this space, if you could put that for us in the chat. And thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for saying yes, right? A lot of times we are so afraid to say yes that we miss things, right? But there's a power in yes. Thank you all for showing up and listening and giving yourself a time to be in this space. We appreciate you. And I hope that you will join us for the rest of the week in the conversation as well. I love it. I see you guys there. Share your story. Remember to share your story. Tell your story. We must speak up for ourselves and others, right? And I feel like that's so where you are with just speaking up, right? So thank you for being a vehicle for that. Be confident in your voice, even if it has an accent.
Yes, especially if it has an accent. Yes.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I almost don't want it to end, but it has to. So guys, thank you so much. Emem, thank you again.
Thank
We'll
you.
be sure you guys to share her information everywhere so that you have it. And otherwise, just come back again and join us for the rest of the week. Grab a cup of tea, grab a friend, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.